to yours. Welcome to EMS at Sea Level. Today's guest is Krzysztof Torczynski from Printor. Krzysztof is the CEO of Printor. Before we get into the questions, Krzysztof, can you give me a quick 2-minute introduction to you and to Printor?
Yeah, hello Phil. Thanks for inviting me here. So Printor is an electronic manufacturing company located in Poland. We focus mainly on niche markets which require reliability and agility. So we're present in many sectors from medical through IoT, military, or even high-end audio, which is a bit exotic already for us. Between our customers, we can find companies like General Electric, ABB, or Bombardier. At the moment, we have 120 people, and typical batches we produce are between 1,000 and 100,000 pieces. Maybe what's quite unique about our company is that we have a PCB manufacturing department in-house.
Okay.
Which was pretty useful in recent days.
Yeah, I can imagine. And is that because when you were formed, you were initially came from PCB manufacturing, or was that an addition later on?
Yeah, exactly. That's where we're coming from. I mean,
Okay.
we're a family business, and my father started it in the 80s, and printed circuit board manufacturing was one of the first business.
Okay, nice to have kept that in place, and that will have helped you during these difficult times. And we'll come to that in more detail. One of the words that you mentioned there was agility, and I think that's been absolutely essential over recent months. That's kind of been a watchword for many EMS companies, but many buyers as well. Tell me a bit about your experience over the last month, 2 months, 3 months as you've gone through this challenge and you've seen it move from supply chain disruption in China through Europe and start to impact on you.
Yeah, the first problem, the first challenge was to protect people and to learn to work in the new reality with limited access to our facility for customers. They need to work remotely to introduce all the disinfection and protective measures. Actually, on that level, I suppose it went quite well. As even now looking at the sick leave ratio, it's lower than from the pre-pandemic times. But another thing is assuring business continuity, which for the moment is going quite well. We were able to ramp sales. Obviously, we haven't reached our targets, but at least we are slightly above last year's volumes.
Okay,
and
so you've achieved some growth.
Yeah, yes. And the supply chain disruption you mentioned is, I think, the most critical part. Here we need to protect our customers from that impact. Luckily, before each Chinese New Year period, we are taking some preventive measures to ensure further production in case of some logistic disruptions, which usually happen. So through the first period, we went quite smoothly, but then we had some issues.
Of course.
Maybe for 3 weeks. We're looking on our KPI, which is on-time delivery for most production, and we're back well above 95%. So I think that the situation is already stable.
Yeah. And what have you seen in terms of demand disruption? Have you seen more demand in maybe medical sectors? Do you work in any of the medical sectors, and are you supporting companies that are directly in the fight against COVID?
Yeah, exactly. The medical sector is noting really nice growth. We are producing electronics for disinfection equipment for hospitals and other stations. We are also involved in 3 ventilator projects, which are at the moment under development. I'm not sure how they will go, as I hear really many companies started this type of projects. Well, I think that it's also important to mention the not only the, let's say, medical part of the COVID pandemics, but also the economic impact and a way of supporting our customers in different measures. Obviously, we cannot support as a financing company. This is not our business, but we can be more elastic in choosing some solutions, helping to develop new solutions for their production.
Okay, so you can be a bit more creative and kind of develop more partnerships with them, which I think is is valuable. So we're kind of fighting our way through this short-term thing, and you know, perhaps moving to more of a recovery stage. Tell me a bit about how you see that recovery stage impacting business, and what you see as the long-term new normal going forward.
Okay, I think that in Poland the situation is slowly getting back to normal, even though officially we haven't finished the lockdown. We still have many restrictions. But looking at the road traffic from Google and Analytics, it's getting back almost to the normal level. There are more and more trucks, so we see that the business is coming back. I think that when it comes to the general situation, I think that the following weeks will show what happens in USA, because everybody's looking at the US economy these days, especially in terms of this USA-China conflict, which seems to be escalating. So it's maybe some new factors will appear soon. Maybe with similar impact to this pandemic. And
sorry, I think it's interesting with respect to the trade war we had last year with tariffs, and now the pandemic and the relationship with China. I think we're seeing some people reassess what they're having manufactured in China and reassess their global manufacturing footprint. Are you seeing customers think more about manufacturing in Europe closer to the consumer rather than in Asia?
Yeah, yes, I'm seeing this kind of signs. I think that especially this cooperation with Scandinavian countries, with Poland, which is already really good, can, let's say, flourish even more. Usually, Printor is doing quite well in crisis times because of this capacity to work in an agile way. And I hope that this kind of approach to business will have bigger importance, especially reducing the time to market, enabling rapid changes. There are many new technologies arising at the moment, and I see that there is a really big opportunity.
Yeah, and when you look at that, Krzysztof, and you think about that agility, where do you think that comes from? I think with Printor, it's partly in your DNA, but do you think digital transformation is a contributor to that? Is that an opportunity to be more agile and more resilient to disruption?
I think that yes, partially yes, especially when it comes to communication and managing supply chains. But I see more this digital transformation and Industry 4.0 as something which will rather boost the performance than increase agility itself. Because I suppose that agility is something, like you said, in the company DNA, an element of culture, and also it depends on, let's say, talent and attitude of people and engineers.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it, isn't it? It's leadership, and it's the team that you built around, and if they're used to working in a agile, fast-moving environment, when suddenly everything else is very frantic, they're much more able to cope. When you think about your team coping in lockdown, I mean, for example, your remote staff, like your sales team and your administration staff, I guess that a lot of those people are working or have been working from home. How have you managed to keep the team spirit together? How have you kept everybody working and focused on the goals?
Yeah, well, it was in the beginning. I was really uncertain how things will go. Even though we have been testing the remote sales model for 2 years, more or less. In my view, the key point was to help managers understand the situation and focus on priorities. As a result, we decided to have definitely less meetings and focus more on the main points, and allow managers to decide themselves how to manage them. And I think it's really good way. In my view, I'm really surprised that this quick switch to remote work did not really disrupt the functioning of our company and all the processes.
Yeah.
So I also see that the motivation is really high, and I'm really proud of people, the way people are engaged in keeping the business running. But obviously, from the human perspective, I'm missing, seeing all the people we will, meet on a daily basis. But I suppose that many of those changes will stay for long.
Yeah, it'll be a different world post pandemic. And you talk about missing those people, and it's the same. People are missing going to visit their family. You don't get to go out to restaurants. You maybe don't get to go to the cinema. What are you doing to keep you sane at home? Are you reading more books? Are you watching Netflix? Are you binging on old episodes of Star Wars movies? What's keeping you sane?
Recently, like half of Polish people, I'm quite busy with redecorating. By the way, all the DIY shops were full during the whole pandemic.
Okay.
But I also decided I like to learn something new from time to time. And I decided to learn to play piano, which is quite challenging, probably at my age. But it's really one wonderful thing, and it's really amazing how let's say, body and mind and the nervous system is developing new patterns.
No, it's fascinating, and really nice to learn a new skill, isn't it? And it's nice particularly to play a musical instrument, and I would imagine it's quite calming, and it takes you away from the the day-to-day management of the business. You have to be very focused to play.
Definitely. Well, I'm very beginner, so I'm still far from the moment of getting relaxation.
Okay, it's still quite hard
relax. For relaxed cycling
is your thing. That's the way. Good stuff, and it's good to get out. So before we go, Krzysztof, what advice would you give to other people in the business of contract manufacturing. I think there's a lot of stress around at the moment, a lot of confusion. What would you say to your peers?
I think it's at this moment we have many changes going on, and we should find the positive, in the situation and see what's working well, what new ideas appear, what new solutions, new tools our team developed, and really just appreciate it and look, check what can we keep for the future.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see, as you say, it's interesting to see how the team performs. You learn a lot about people in a crisis, and I'm, pleased to hear that you're very proud of your team and things are going in the right direction. Krzysztof, thank you so much for your time and your candor. It's been a pleasure to chat. And until next time, thank you, everybody. And we'll see you again on EMS at Sea Level. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.